Hey everyone, welcome back to another Buick Outdoors podcast. If you're new around here, I'm your host Sheldon Marion, and today I'm going to be sitting down with the guys from Canadian Rifleman. It's a brand new Canadian ammunition manufacturer based right here out of Northern Alberta. And man, it was an exciting conversation I had with these guys. I can't wait to see where they go with this business. And to top it all off, they're based right here out of Canada. So with that all being said, I hope you enjoy this podcast. We're gonna jump right into it. Welcome to the Buick Outdoors podcast. I'm your host Sheldon Marion, and on this podcast we dive deep into the outdoors. We discuss hunting and fishing techniques, give you tips and tricks, tell stories, and everything in between to help you enjoy the outdoors. This podcast is brought to you by Northbound Gear. If you've been around here for a while, you would have seen that I pretty well exclusively wear Northbound Gear pants, whether it's the Adventure water resistant and cut resistant pants or the waterproof jeans. They're just excellent stand-up gear. They have those pants. They also have some summer pants as well that zip off into shorts. They have jackets, things for men and women. And they also have a bunch of accessories as well. If you want to check those guys out, they're at northboundgear.co. And for you guys listening and watching this, if you use the promo code Sheldon15 at checkout, you'll receive 15% off your order, and that's including the sale items. Also, with Northbound Gear, they partner up with One Tree Planted, so for every purchase, you also plant a tree. So head over to northboundgear.co. Check those guys out. Use the promo code Sheldon15 to receive 15% off and get yourself some good gear.
Seen you went on a bear hunt earlier this year. How did that go?
It went really good. Yeah, I went. I usually get 2 bears a year.
Yeah.
So the first one, it was a pretty cut and dry bear hunt. It was just like bear standing in the ditch. I stopped, got out, kind of shot. So like it wasn't anything.
It was
too
a no-brainer.
Yeah. Then the second bear hunt I was on my way back into town, and he was making his way up the side of the hill there, and got out, walked up a couple hundred yards, took a shot on him, and where I hit him was just like a little bit further back than I wanted to, and he went way up around and kind of tucked himself into a hole.
Yeah.
So and I had to go up, kind of find out where he went. And I was like, well, I think he's over here. So and I went way up and around on the catwalk and came down from on top of him.
Yeah.
And when I got there, he was in a little hole underneath the log, and he was sitting there like snorting at me. So I had to give him
Under the log.
Yeah. So I gave him one more. I was like, you son of a bitch, trying to ambush me. But yeah. So that took care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you guys are into some pretty interesting stuff, creating a Canadian manufacturer for ammunition.
Yeah. We were frustrated like everybody else about not being able to get ammo in this country. We were trying to, buy ammunition for hunting last last couple of years, and it's paying $110 for a box of 300 Win Mag ammunition. It's just like, why the heck do we not have our own manufacturer? So I don't know. Kind of started down this path, not really knowing if it was even possible, or if somebody was gonna, from the government was gonna come along and say, you guys can't do this. And so it was just one step after another, trying to figure out. Really, we were taking another step, trying to feel for where the pushback was going to come from.
Yeah.
And then, to be quite frank, we just didn't get the pushback that we expected. And
Nothing major, no.
Nothing major. I mean, it took time, right? It took time, and it took some money, and took. I guess from our perspective, it took some, for lack of a better word, took some balls to take that chance, right? Because we were investing in something that we really didn't know if it was even possible.
Yeah. Well, even for guys like me, like I shoot 180 grain federal ammunition out of a 300 Win Mag, like the most basic shit there is. And I couldn't find a box of bullets.
No, and that's exactly why I shoot 180 grain, 300 Win Mag, same thing. And I had my father come up from Vancouver Island, and he looked at every store coming up here. He found 2 boxes. That's it, on the whole way up here.
Yeah, either that or like I think last year I went through 3 different boxes because they had 165s, 168s, 175s, 200s, and it was like, jeez. And then when I finally found like 180s, I was like, how many boxes am I allowed to buy? He's like, well, we got 5. I'm like, I don't want to buy all of them, but like, can I take 4?
Leave one for somebody else.
Yeah, so
Get them while you can.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's a ton of us that all feel the same frustration.
Absolutely.
Well, my boss at work was talking about 7mm red mag, same thing. It's $125 a box. It's just
That's crazy.
impossible.
That's what I shoot. 7mm red mag.
Yeah.
So
160
Yeah.
grains.
Well, there had to be a better way.
Yeah.
This is kind of
Yeah, and if you can't find it, well, you guys took the next step, went
We'll
do it
make
ourselves. Yeah.
Just
Well, we've
make
been
it.
we've been hand loading since we were kids, and so it was a question of what would it take to be able to do this on a commercial scale.
Yeah.
And we just started reaching out, and I started asking questions. And I started asking. And actually, it was funny. I had my pal came up for renewal,
Yeah.
and the RFO called to do an interview. She wanted to know about whatever it was. She wanted to quiz me on storage safety or whatever, and so I just. While I had her on the phone, I said, by the way, what is the reason why we don't have an ammo manufacturer? And she's like, I don't know. She's like, and she didn't have an answer to that. And I said, there's no rule against it. And she's like, I don't think so. She said it's been done before, but it hasn't been done in a long time. I said, okay, well, let's figure it out.
Yeah, because like that was my next step. Was I was gonna go and start reloading for myself, but like a reloading kit, it's like $1,000 if you want like all
For your basic,
proper,
just to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I also don't like doing that. I like the convenience of just buy a box and go. Like, I don't want to sit down and reload all day Sunday and shoot all week.
time consuming.
thing,
There's
yeah.
no doubt about that. To sit down and do it for yourself, it's definitely a hobby that you got to enjoy because it
Yeah.
definitely takes some time.
Yeah, so it's pretty wicked what you guys are slowly able to kind of. You're slowly working at it, but it is.
It's coming together
too.
day by day.
Yeah.
We've received our permits now from the government, and we're hopefully within the next couple of weeks we're looking at getting fired up. We were actually out today working on our facility, getting tooled up for our equipment. Hopefully we'll be here by the end of the week, and our first deliveries will go out. We have them scheduled for the middle of October, and then just growing from there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
First product, of course, will be 223 with a 75 grain hollow point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just kind of get your foot in the door kind of thing.
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
foot in the door. And I think following that, it'd be 308. I'm not exactly sure what grain or whatever we're going to be going with on that, but it'll be 223 and then the 308, and we'll work into more calibers as time goes on. And
Oh yeah.
It's component supply, basically.
yeah, that's the big thing is getting the components as we need them.
What you can get, in a timely fashion.
Yeah, especially now too, because like there seems to be a shortage of like brass and primers and powder and even like lead and
Yeah,
stuff.
even the lead's hard.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
It's
yeah.
out there. You just have to find it. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like you're right. There's a ton of shortage for that type of stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
because that was like
especially in volume, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was like another issue. Like if I did go hand loading, I was so close to just biting the bullet and buying the kits. But then I was like, well, I like 180 or 200 grain for my 300. But it was like, yeah, there's a box of 180s, and then there's like 5 boxes of 200s, and it's like, yeah, but I'm gonna be packing it like in deer country. Like I don't need a 200 grain bullet. Like I don't even need a 300 for deer, but I'm also hunting moose and elk at the same time. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you'd just be making hamburger. Hey,
pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I mean when it comes to just even buying componentry off the shelf, like they do it that way for a reason. It's not much cheaper to hand load. It's the convenience of being able to get your ammunition when you want your ammunition.
Yeah.
Right. But even then, you go buy, a bag of brass, a box of primers, a box of bullets, and a pound of powder. When you're 95% of the way to a box of shells.
Yeah, you save like $10 or $15, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
It's a ton of right.
Yeah,
So,
and you're gonna spend all Sunday
Yeah.
reloading.
yeah.
All day Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and we've gotten that question too. Like, where are you guys going to get your primers from and stuff? And we've ironed that out for our purposes, but we've also found that there's significant challenges in Canada. One of the companies that we reached out to for a wholesale account told us that they haven't been able to fill a quarter of the orders that existing orders that they've got, and they weren't able to take on another account. And
Yeah.
so, looking at that, we're like, well, maybe there's an opportunity for us to, produce some of our own components as well and offer those to the market. And we are definitely going to get there. It's going to be a little while to get there.
Yeah. Well, then with that too, that would cut down on a couple of costs and stuff too, if you're able to actually manufacture things right here. Because I'm assuming, if you're manufacturing ammo and you need 100 pounds of black powder, like the permits, just like to get the permits would be expensive.
It's what I found to be more interesting about it is that where he talks about all the powders and the primers and everything being hard to get, but the projectiles, there's like, if you're shooting 300 Win Mag, like you talked about, there's 150 grain, there's 180 grain, there's 200 grain, there's 220 grain. So like now they're all the same caliber, but they're different grain weights. So you might need 5 different projectiles for one caliber of gun, right? So it's not coming down to finding, okay, I need components to make ammunition for this one product. Like there might be 5 different variations of that same product.
Yeah, and that's just the grain weight too.
That is literally just the grain weight of the projectile, never mind its shape, design, whatever else. So componentry is difficult in a multitude of different ways. Finding brass is hard.
Yeah.
Finding bullets and all the different things in a feasible way is a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, then finding brass too, that's not going to blow up every single time or crack the rims and
So we can
Quality
manufacture
stuff.
some of the componentry ourselves, and we have that freedom to be able to choose. If somebody phones you up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for 180 grain bullets," well, give us 180 grain bullets. Let's go.
Yeah.
What else have you been up to these days?
Well, the last couple of days I was with the Royal BC Museum paleontologist.
Oh, you went out to paleo whatever, Paleoluza. They had it out here at the Philip J. Curry Museum.
No, the curator from the Royal BC Museum actually came up to Hudson Hope area
Oh, okay.
because they're doing some field work in one of the trackway sites, and then also discovered one about 2 months ago. Or maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's what was being. I heard some whispers about that.
Yeah, so when they came out and they came down to the creek where I found this new trackway site and they started exploring it, and we found about 5 or 6 different dinosaurs. And
Nice.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
so
pretty
it's
neat.
an actual new trackway site, and then I joined them in their fieldwork studies, and we exposed some more dinosaur tracks in this other area. And then while we're doing that, I was taking off some of the overburden, and I actually found some fossilized seeds where the dinosaurs were actually stepping on them too.
No.
So it's pretty neat.
That's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
that is
Yeah,
pretty
so I'm
cool.
getting put down as the finder or whatever. Of
So any new animal out there, they can name it after you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a fun last couple of days.
I bet.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Now I'm getting ready and geared up for this upcoming hunting season. I got 3 weeks booked off for September, so
Yeah.
Good.
time to go after the
I got
elk
the rest
and
of my
deer.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm counting down. What is it?
Yeah.
12
Working
days
on
till
it.
archery season opens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, with the company this year, I don't know how much we're going to be able to get out, but I've been telling him, I'm like, yep, 3 a.m. we're getting up, we're going.
Yeah,
we're
no
going.
kidding.
Exactly.
Elk season's coming quick. I'm geared up for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
It was funny. I was in Barhead a few days, or I guess a week and a half ago or so, talking to a guy about sale, and I had elk calls a particular elk call that I've been looking for about a year and a half now, or 2 years, I guess. It's almost 2 years, but I had one that worked really well, calling an elk left and right with it, and then the guy, of course, from Smith Game Calls went out of business, and I can't get any more of this call. And so I happened to walk into the shop in Barhead, and I'm talking to the guy, and I look over, and I'm like, holy crap, he's got a whole rack full of them. So I go and I grab them. I forget there was like 25 or 26 of these things, like lifetime supply of elk calls. So
Yeah,
hopefully
no
we'll get a
kidding.
chance to use one this year.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, like, with you guys, too. You're not just, like, business-savvy guys who had, like, $1 million kicking around. You're like, well, this might generate us some money. Like, you're actual hunters. You're actual
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
We're
outdoorsmen,
Yeah.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hunting, fishing, yes.
Yeah.
All the above.
You're not into it for your quarterly returns and stuff like.
No.
That's been a
Yeah.
struggle. That's been a struggle.
Yeah,
for
like
us.
it is a part of it, but you know,
Yeah.
you have to stand behind your product because it's also going into your rifle that you're using. It's not like send it to Sheldon, he'll shoot it, whatever, who cares?
No,
It's like,
and that's the thing. Like we build these things for ourselves to begin
Yeah.
with. Like that's it's us sitting down, figuring out the combinations of loads, and making sure they shoot right. And because I'm not gonna walk out in the boonies and take a pot shot at something with something I don't trust.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, especially when you're
I don't want to chase after nothing, man.
Yeah.
Hiking through the bush sucks.
well, and like you're packing a 300, so if you shoot an elk and you're in grizzly country, your second and third shot might be that grizzly coming at you. So
Yeah,
it's-
exactly.
so
You
it's
don't
like-
want that in front of you.
yeah,
No.
yeah, we're gonna make sure our primers actually shoot.
Yeah, make sure they work.
Make sure the bullets actually expand and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, there's
Yeah.
a lot more to it than just, flip through a book. That one will work.
Yeah.
The customer
Yeah.
you go. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, yeah, and I can only imagine how much like R&D go into it too, because like your rifle might take 53 grains of powder, mine might like 52, his might like 53.1, and like
Yeah.
all the pressure
It-
and everything.
It varies from rifle to rifle.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that was one of the bigger things trying to come up with is like, you never know what a teak is going to like compared to a Remington or whatever, right? They're
Yeah.
all going to shoot different. You test gun is 22-inch barrel and buddy shoot a 26,
Yeah.
or whatever, right? And you're going to get that it might not perform the same, so you're trying to figure out what's going to work across a few
Yeah.
different avenues.
Well, and you see that even with like the major manufacturers. Like if you buy a brand new gun, the first thing you gotta do is buy 4 different boxes of bullets.
Yeah.
Because like this one loves Federal, this one likes Winchester, this one likes Canadian Rifleman. Like
And there's even between in the same brand, you go from one, like if you look in the inside flap, there's a lot number on
Yeah.
them, right? And even from lot to lot, they'll perform differently. I know we
we've had that.
Yeah, we went out with a box. I think it was with the Winchesters. I think and we used them
Yes.
as a baseline to compare our ammunition to. And the Winchesters were plus or minus 180 feet per second. It was insane how
It was
wild
a lot.
wild it was. And we shot ours, and it was a little bit slower, but it was plus or minus 12. And it's like, hey, I'm pretty happy
yeah,
with
that's
that.
much better.
Yeah,
Consistent.
right? So-
right?
Well, I'm phoning him. I'm like, it's 15 deviation. He's like, dude, that's amazing. I was like, I'm not really happy with that.
You don't get much better.
Yeah.
No.
Meanwhile, the big top guys like Federal or whatever, they're like, yeah, plus or minus 150, 200 feet per second. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
take it as it is.
They
Take
don't
it as
care.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when we were getting ready for the range day in Hudson's Hope too, right? With the 303 British, we had his 303 British was the only one that we had, and so and they were asking for like 500 rounds, not knowing how many people were going to show up out there, right? And so I said to him like, we better get on figuring out this load, and so we go out and we managed to get one dialed in for his gun, and I'm like, I don't have any idea if it's going to work
Here
on
we
somebody
go.
else's
Yeah.
rifle. Like,
Yeah.
but it turned out it did. We had a few people hit the target at 450 yards there, so we were pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. We actually wound up and we walked down the range at the end of the day, and we had a look at the target. I don't know if you saw that, but there was the very first guy that fired a bullet. We couldn't see where it had landed, right? And when we went and got the target, it was like 1.5 inches from the bullseye. We actually had to wound up having to award 2 first prizes because we didn't know that one had hit the target, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, because I was even doing the spotting there on the one side, and there was the one person, it was like 20 feet up in the bank, and I was like, that might not be good. But then like the next one, it was just like 1 inch below, and then I was like, oh, okay, maybe that one was just a fluke. But
There was some of those guys that were shooting, and we're kind of like, I don't know what they were looking at.
Yeah, just all over. Yeah.
yeah,
I hope that ricocheted off of something, but I don't think that's where the target was.
no.
Excuse
Yeah.
me.
So with this, when were you guys thinking about actually being like full production and all that?
Full production, it's probably a 5-year schedule.
Oh,
To
okay.
be totally honest with you. It's something that we have to roll out over time.
Mhm.
After, like Dean said, finding components and finding them in enough quantity too. So we have to roll out a certain amount of we have to get our market share
Yeah.
built up in order to be able to purchase enough brass, especially, that we can get our head stamp on it and whatever, right, and be able to roll it out in any significant quantities.
Nah.
But the difference in calibers and all that, so when you're talking like full scale operations, like you're talking 12 calibers, you're talking like how many, that's what I mean. So like we could be pumping ammo out for 5 calibers, well it's a pretty good operation, but it's not going to cover everybody's needs. Right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to just the sheer variety of stuff you need in quantity, it'll be a project.
It's
to
going
get
to be a
everything
project.
out.
Yeah.
and for each, and we have to get volume for each one. That's what I'm saying. It's not just, we're going to produce 500,000 223 rounds or 308 rounds. We need that many for each caliber in order to justify bringing it on. Just through pure economics, it wouldn't make sense otherwise. I mean,
yeah. Then also like the struggle of, sure, you could do 5 rounds or 5 calibers, like one size of grain for each one to kind of get you started, but then it's like, which one do you go from there? Like, do you just look at your sales or what the need is or the want kind of thing?
That's it. How do you decide? Do you go with 150 grain 7mm Rem mag, or do you go with the 175? Like, what people are going to want to, you want to take it shooting goats? Well, you need something short or long and fast, right?
Yeah.
You want to take it in the woods, you need something heavy and short, right? So like, depends what you're looking for. Everybody's looking for something different.
Yeah, you also have to like watch trends and stuff. Like right now,
you really do.
Small caliber, long range stuff like the 6.5 kind of crap is hot right now.
Yeah.
The one thing
is that going to die off in 6 months, or is it going to keep going?
We came up with an idea at one of the trade shows we were at to say, hey, give me your suggestion. What do you shoot? What do you want to see on the shelf?
Yeah.
And so we ended up getting a box and putting a name on it, just punch a hole in the top, literally with an axe, just here you go.
Yeah.
Put your name, tell me what you put. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up with a list of different calibers and grain weights and what people were looking for. So that was actually kind of helpful.
Yeah, and that actually led to something kind of unique. Because Dean says, why don't we have one caliber or one grain weight and type of bullet for each caliber, and we name it specifically like a trade name for each one. And so we came up with a list of cool trade names for each one. So like we have, what was it, the whitetail widower and
the sheep king.
The
it's like
sheep.
150 grain for 30-06 or something.
Yeah. Well, that was Grandpa's go-to.
Grandpa's go-to was
that was a funny story about where that came from.
That was a bit of an issue, that one. Actually, might as well tell the story. No, it was. I got my grandfather's 30-06 was gifted to me, and we were just digging through some stuff. He pretty much gave me all his reloading gear, all this stuff. He said, "Here you go, take it all." He's like, "I'm too old." He's what, 92 now or something. So I have this thing sitting at home, and I was just digging through some of the stuff, and I found a box all wrapped up, and it had the load, the powder weight, everything right on the outside of the box. And it said 1987. He had made this box, right? And so I called him on the phone, and I was like, "Papa," I'm like, "I found this box of shells." I was like, "Actually, 2, one full and one missing, like 2 rounds out of it." And he was like, "Oh, that was he's like, "I know exactly what was in that." And his brain is not the same as it used to be, so I shouldn't have taken everything to heart as much as I did. And so I just trusted him, and I was like, "Okay, I'm going to take these things out. I'm going to make up some fresh ones, go out and let's try out Grandpa's trusty load." Well, I threw that shell in the gun, pulled the trigger, and kaboom! And like smoke came out the breech. Pulled it out, there was the primer all compacted and everything, and I was like, "Oh, that explains why there's 2 shells missing out of a bunch of taped up boxes hidden in the corner somewhere."
You kind of want
Seems a little aggressive.
And then I read the load and everything. I had to put a little bit more thought into it, and then found out, okay, we shouldn't be here.
Yeah, we're about 5 grains too high.
So, yeah, we fixed that problem now. They shoot really good now.
Yeah.
But it was Grandpa's special was definitely special.
Yeah, that might have been a bit of a lawsuit, eh?
Glad we figured that one out.
Yeah.
So, I was walking by when he pulled the trigger, and just the concussion off. It was like I felt like I had hair blowing back. I'm like, I don't even have hair, man. I was like, nuts.
It was like, oh my.
I was like, what was that?
Yeah. Oh, that was like my cousin Wade there. Every once in a while, he'd load up on his 338s and goes, "This one's a little hot." And you're like, they were hot to begin with.
Yeah.
So when he's saying like,
When they're
be
a little
careful.
hot, yeah.
Oh, you touched that thing off and it was like 220 grains, but it felt like an elephant kicking you. Like it was just boop, and it's like, oh.
Right.
That's like my rifle. I shoot a 270 Weatherby, and when like same kind of thing. My dad passed it down to me, and so I took it out to the range one time, and I was, of course, he had the hand-loaded boxes of ammo, and after I fired the couple of shots or whatever, I went home and I looked up, for whatever reason, I looked up in the book at the different loads or whatever, and I asked my dad, I'm like, actually, I seen that it was loaded down a couple of grains, right? I think 3. Anyways, like, called him up and I'm like, why do we have this loaded down so much? He's like, load it up, you'll find out. I'm like, that was kind of not the answer I was expecting, right? And he's like, and so I went, I loaded a couple up, and man, that thing kicked so hard. It was just, it wasn't even tolerable. It was just like, it didn't kick hard. It was violent too, right? And I'm like, I understand now. And then I called him up when I got home, and he's like, you understand now? I'm like, yep, I definitely understand. That's why they loaded me down a couple of grains.
Oh, that was like my first gun that I bought. It was a Ruger M77 ultra lightweight and 7mm, and I shot like 140 grains out of it.
Right.
But like when you touch that off, it just walloped you. Like it was so brutal, and like,
well, being lightweight.
Yeah, and I was like, 7mm sucks. I hate this caliber. I hate this gun. Get rid of it. Whatever. But then, you know, you kind of learn. You're like, oh, okay, no, I was just a 14-year-old kid who bought his first gun, and it was like, you bought a stupid gun.
They're not all the same.
Yeah. So I wanted to run this because 7 Rem Mag. Go back to the load names. I still think this is pretty cool, right? The 7 Rem Mag 160 grain was the Wapiti Walloper. The 300 Win Mag 180 grain was the Moose Valley Mauler. And there's some good ones in here too. The 338 Win Mag was the Bison Brawler. 270 130 grain is the Sheep Creek Coroner. 3030 Win 190 grain is the Black Bear's Nightmare. This one was my favorite one. The 6.5 Creedmoor 154 grain, the Grim Reacher.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Or the 7mm odd 8 139 grain was the Antelope Assassin. I like that one too. And 303 British. I think we'll name this one. Was we had a bunch. One was Limey's Last Stand, the London Broiler, or Jack the Ripper. Yeah, there's some good ones in there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, keep your eyes peeled for some of those, because I think we're gonna put those right on the
Put the name on the box.
Yeah.
On the sticker on the end of it.
Yeah, pass me a box of them Grim Reapers.
Exactly.
There you go.
You know what you get.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then from there, of course, like he was talking about the different grain weights, we can tinker with it from there. But I think we'll start with the named ones. I think that's
it's a good place to go.
Yeah, get your foot in the door, and that way too you can just focus on this one weight, one grain, and just kind of go from there. And then as you kind of grow and build and expand, you can slowly put out more. And then also, if you know there's a new big whatever.
Well, and that's the other thing too. These are all kind of dialed in for what you'd want to use them for a little bit, right? So that's as soon as you start looking into different avenues of what your gun might be capable of, well, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and like with this too, it's more focused towards like actual hunting.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, everybody uses a 180. Everybody uses a 165. Everybody uses a 160 out of a 308 or whatever. So it's very broad spectrum. It's not, let's dump $200,000 into this one round that some target shooters will use.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We actually get quite a few phone calls on that when it comes to like the custom orders. Hey, can you make me this with a Barnes this and whatever? And it's like, dude, I don't have a test gun for your throwed it out 338. You know, like, never mind build one that I can consistently say is going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the hard part, is you definitely get a lot of.
And again, it'll be the type of gun again, you know, with how it works per gun, right?
Well, and you also have to look like what competitions are doing too. Like, if you phone up Nosler, who's like one of the biggest manufacturers, if they won't take on that project of like, okay, you want 185 grains at this, and you want 10 boxes, sure. If they won't do that, why would the little guys
Want
do it
to
too?
try
Like,
it. Yeah.
and they have like the overhead and like they can actually afford to do that.
The sheer R&D in it, like we discussed it and we started running numbers and stuff like that. It's like, man, you're talking an $800 box of shells.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I can't
Well, then
justify that.
There's also like the liabilities and stuff like that too, because even if they sent you a spec sheet and you're like, we did it to exactly their specs, but if they shoot it and they get hurt, it's like, well, you're the one that
Yep.
manufactured it, loaded it, and said, yeah, it's safe.
That's right.
So it's like, yeah, maybe we'll just stay away from that. We'll stick with the proven, tested. Yeah.
Stick with our R&D.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to talk about is our crowdfund that we got coming up. We were looking at ways to sort of expand what we're doing. Of course, being a new business, we were talking about getting money from banks or whatever, right? And so, but we were approached a bunch of times by people that wanted to be a part of our company. They wanted to know how they could get involved and how they could, some people wanted to invest, other people wanted to put time in, some people wanted to be involved different ways.
Yeah.
And so what we did was we came up with a concept for a member-owner program.
Oh, okay.
And so for as little as $500, you can become a member of the Canadian Rifleman, and actually it buys you a type of share in the company. It's a non-voting share, but it's a small piece of the company. With that, we're looking at implementing member perks, invitations to range days, get a swag bag, like t-shirts and things like that with it. Get invitation to a retreat once a year. Maybe I don't even know what that means. Like, we'll have to cross that bridge when it comes to what exactly the retreat would be, right? All kinds of different things, and also an entry into a draw for a guided hunt, a big game hunt.
Oh, okay.
In 2025, and comes with your entry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're a member for life. You actually wind up with a pro rata share of the company, and get to participate in any profit sharing or dividends along the way. And as we build, your share builds. And our long-term goal, of course, if we get the traction that we're looking for, is to go public for an IPO.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you hold on for the full length of time and we go to the IPO, your shares will become publicly traded stock as well.
Oh, okay.
Traded on a stock exchange. So that's really cool. It's something that we're really excited about. The opportunity to share with everybody, because it's not just ammo that we're doing, it's also a lifestyle brand. This is all about supporting the community and supporting the retailers, especially the mom and pop style retailers that are really the backbone of this industry, right? And the backbone of our sport and our culture, really, in Canada. And for the last, anybody that shoots knows this, but we've been under threat from the political class for the past 25 years or more, since 1996 when they passed the Firearms Act. And we've slowly watched as the communities started to shrink, right? And people, for quite a long time, fewer and fewer people were getting involved in it, because it was not the suave thing to do, I suppose, and things were getting more expensive and whatever. And so we decided that we wanted to kind of take the bull by the horns and put a different face to what it means to be a firearms owner in Canada. Yeah. And that's when we came up with the idea of the Canadian Rifleman. It's like, what is a Canadian Rifleman? How is that different from the stereotypical
gun-toting American?
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, exactly. You got it, right?
Yeah.
And so we really want to showcase that and proudly uphold an image that challenges that negative stereotype that certain people in the political class would like to put upon us. Mm-hmm. And we're looking for people for ambassadors of our brand and ambassadors of that idea. Yeah. And so the member owner idea is one way that we want to engage people with that. Yeah. And in order to drive that, we'll be setting up range days and functions and things like this. We actually modeled it, excuse me, a little bit after the Milwaukee Tools. If you've seen the Milwaukee Tools, they go and they set up their little tent out of a local retailer, whatever. We want to do that and sort of on a grassroots level. Yeah. get in contact with local ranges and sportsmen's associations and things like that, and get out and do demonstration nights and let people try our ammo and talk to us and know that like we're here for you guys. We're, you know, like we're not just in it for us to make money. Like we knew that of course we have to make money or else the business doesn't survive, but at the end of the day it was because we wanted to put a fresh face to the firearms owners in Canada and really challenge, like I said, the negative connotations associated with it.
Yeah, for sure. And the way you guys are going about your crowdfunding too, like I've seen other crowdfunding where it's like a pre-order and like that's as far as it goes. Like we want this crowdfunding to start up this whatever cooler company, and then you put in $100 or whatever, and then it's like, yeah, you get your cooler a week early.
Yeah.
And like it's done. Like, there's no perks, there's no incentives. It's like
no, basically you just help
want,
them kick
we
off
want
the ground
this
so you can get
ongoing.
your
where this it's like you can actually tell you guys actually care and you want to reach out and you want to build a community around it, and it's not.
We had so much interest in, like Daryl said, trying to get the interest in people coming in and saying, hey, like, how do I become a part of this?
Yeah.
Well, you realize how many people they don't necessarily want to buy into the company, but they just want to be a part of the whole movement. Right?
Yeah.
It's actually becoming, I shouldn't call it a movement, I don't mean anything like that, but like that's the idea behind it. People are like, look, I really like what you guys are doing, you know, like we need this in this country. It's like it's hard for us to get this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's move. And you know, if you get somebody that wants to help out or do whatever, and they can say that they own a portion of it, well, they're going to come and buy their own product.
Yeah.
Right? And that helps us build what they want.
Yeah. Well, and like your approach to it too is like a very common sense, like sensible, like we just want to make bullets. Like it's not, you know, you don't have big flags flying and you know upside down Canada flag and this and that. Like you're not actually like trying to make a whatever you want to call it.
A
Like,
political statement or anything.
yeah,
No.
you just want to go hunt.
That's it. And actually, we've been very forward about that. We're deliberately staying away from the political realm.
Yeah.
We don't want to be a part of that because it's too divisive. We don't want that. And what we've actually found is that from talking to people at trade shows and things like this, is that hunting and shooting never used to be a political issue at all. Right? There's people across the political spectrum that own firearms, and because of the way that the political divide has emerged in the last 20 years, people are being forced to choose between their firearms and some of the other things that they believe in.
Yeah.
We don't care about that other stuff. We just want, like you said, we just want to go hunt. We want to go shoot, right? And at the end of the day, if it's a question of buying somebody's ammo that supports the NRA in the U.S. or supporting a Canadian company, a lot of people are going to support, we hope, the Canadian company just on that alone.
Yeah.
And especially if we leave the politics alone.
Yeah, once you bring in politics, it just muddies the water, and then all of a sudden
Sure
you're painted as some weird off-colored picture, and it's like that's not what we're a part of. Like you guys keep saying, like you were looking for a box of 300 Win Mag bullets, so was I. Couldn't find it. I almost went and reloaded, and you went, I'll just create a company.
That's what
Let's just do it for everybody.
Yeah, you don't want to do it, I'll do it for myself and everybody else that needs 300 Win Mag. Like
That's
one of the
right.
most simple, basic, most used calibers around. It's
yeah, and that's it.
And to be able to buy it at a reasonable price now, too.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
You know, we want to get a portable again.
Yeah, because I used to shoot a 257 Weatherby for years, and like when I started, it was already expensive at like $90 a box.
Yeah.
Now it's 120 something. Like every time I pull the trigger, it's $6 or $7.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, I like to shoot at least 3 or 4 times to group the gun. And if it's a little bit off, well, then you gotta shoot once or twice more, and then after that, it's
you know, me or the gun.
yeah.
You know, and
it's
20
$6
minutes
a
later,
shot.
there's $50.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I take my gun out, I shoot whatever 4 or 5 times. It's like you feel it on your bank account.
Yeah. Shoulder doesn't even hurt that bad.
No.
You know.
Well, we're hoping that as we can't pass along savings to customers that we don't have. But we're hoping that as we get control of the component supply and as we get our volumes built up a little bit, that we can pass along some of those savings, because as we buy in bigger and bigger quantities, and of course we get to bring our costs down, and we would like to be able to pass some of that along to the consumer. And I mean, even if we manage to hold things where they are as everybody else kind of advances, it's going to be advantageous for everybody, I think, right? So.
Well, and even just being a Canadian manufacturer, if your box of bullets cost the same as like Federals or whatever, Remingtons, I'm going to buy this because I know it's made in Canada. I'm sitting with the guys who are generating the company. Like, I can go, hey, I'm going to come over for a coffee or whatever and like shake your guys' hands. And it's like, hey, this is kind of cool. Yeah. Where Nosler, Federal, Remington, whatever, I'm just another box of bullets on the shelf.
Shipping your money
Yeah.
And I mean, when was the last time you seen Nosler or Federal set up at a trade show or a mud bog or a race or something, and you walk up and shake your hands, and you know that they represent what
something
local,
in. Canadian.
When I met you guys, you're dressed up in regular old clothes. Like, you didn't have a suit and tie on. You didn't.
Well, they weren't regular old clothes. They were Canadian Rifleman t-shirts.
Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't a 3-piece suit where you were there to sell something and try to make that little extra money for your Q3 profits or whatever. And it was just like, I'm here to promote our ammunition that we want to get out to the regular consumer who's just like me and you, or just want to go hunt or take a day out at the range. And it's like, it's a weight off of everybody's shoulders, because it's like, this guy's not like some business savvy dick kind of thing.
Right.
Some days I feel like it.
It's just like
thrust into things I never thought I'd have to deal with.
It's just like normal beer drinking dudes who just kind of got tired of the system. And like,
absolutely.
Well, that's it.
We're not out there to be rich. We're out there to sell a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lifestyle brand. That's kind of the way that we built the company.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that'll resonate with a lot of people. So
Yeah, we have had a lot of interest when we set up at trade shows. It's impressive how many people swarm us.
Yeah.
We are surrounded. We get questioned time and time again. What is your guys' deal? Like, why are people always here talking to you?
Sometimes dozens of people.
At a time.
We were joked at the Fort St. John trade show that we needed a stage so that we could talk to everybody. It was insane. The guy next to us, Jonathan, was complaining because people couldn't get to his booth because people from our booth were blocking off access to his. It was insane.
It's nice too, because just like regular guys, like it's like a relaxed fitting, like it's
if we weren't in the middle of the city,
well, right now,
I
don't know where our stuff is set up at. I've been actually threatening to take a 3D target out there so I could practice with my bow while on lunchtime or whatever. Right?
Bow season's only a couple weeks away.
Forward to that.
It's time.
You said you got some hunts planned for the fall?
Yeah, you betcha. I always take my 3 weeks off in May for bears, and then again in September. So I got so mule deer is open for the bow, whitetail's open for rifle, elk is open, bears open, chicken, rabbit.
All the fun.
And you already got your bears, right?
I already got my bears, so that's kind of scratched off the list. But
it's already done.
Elk is open. We used to have a moose season, but that's all under draw now. But
that's what
I think there's still like a 2-day general open season, but
pretty narrow window.
If it lines up and I see a moose and he's legal, sure, I'll take him. But if not, whatever. I got other things I can hunt too.
Exactly.
My only problem is with everything open and there's multiple species. You look in my passenger seat and there's like 45-70 for backup, the bow, the 300, 7mm, 30-06, 243, whatever, and it's like, oh dear,
You don't have
this one.
you don't have a passenger. You have.
That multi-case here?
I do.
Multi-case,
Yeah, you want me to go get
Well,
it?
yeah,
Yes.
go ahead. While you're talking about having different stuff, him and I, we really do the same thing, and I have a buddy of mine that talks about having 3 different guns with him for depending on whether you run into a rabbit, you run into a deer, whether you run into a moose, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we're discussing it would be neat to have, because we make the boxes,
Yeah.
we need to have one that had different, so you have like say 5 Magnum rounds or whatever.
Mhm.
So he'll be bringing it out here in a minute, and we designed it to have different calibers for whatever. So you have half a dozen of this, half a dozen of that.
Oh, it's even got shotgun shells on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has a belt strap on the back, so you can put it on your belt. It's a little bit bulky for that, but nevertheless, it fits in the center console. So you got shotgun, you have your regular rifle rounds, and then your rimfire in the front.
Yeah.
So you can hold a multitude of whatever the heck you want.
Yeah,
We're
that's
designing
perfect.
these to have. I've had requests from everybody because they all shoot different stuff, right? So one guy's like, "Oh, I want my 300 PRC. Give me a 7mm 08 and a 17 HMR."
Yeah.
Right, and so or 30-06 and 12 gauge. I buddy actually this exact same thing. He wanted 30-06, 12 gauge, and 17 HMRs.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what that
I
one
think that's what
was.
this one is.
I think it is,
But,
yeah.
yeah, that was the idea that went behind those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had actually a couple of the retailers ask me specifically for like large rifle in it, like a 308 or 7mm 08 or whatever, and then 410.
410's really
410's
popular.
popular,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, for hunting chickens. Of course.
Well, everybody went out and bought. They came out with them nice little fancy foldables, breakdownable 410s, and
I
then
got
they got everybody and their dog ended up wanting to buy one, and they were like, "Hey, we're not making ammo anymore."
Yeah.
Now you got a whole bunch of people
Yeah, I
running
sold
around.
my 410 a couple years ago because I was like, I never
What's
use it because I can't find bullets, and like
Yeah, it's
even if
$40
you
a
do,
box.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say, yeah.
yeah, my
40 bucks a
16
box.
gauge is cheaper.
Yeah.
12
And you
gauge
can
same,
find shells. For it.
Yeah.
Yep, 12 gauge, same thing, much cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Retarded.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're not going to be producing shotgun.
No.
I don't. That's not really in our wheelhouse.
Mm.
But it was the 410 was actually the impetus for starting the company.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we were, you know, the
Still,
three.
I'm gonna buy my own line of 410. I don't care what you say. Just make my own and sell them separately.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with the whole 300 thing, right? And it wasn't just 300; it was a 7 ram mag, and it was
Yeah.
all different calibers. But then it was actually the 410 that tipped us over the brink, and it's like for God's sakes, why can't you buy a 410 shell? Because we were going moose hunting last year, and we needed a box. We couldn't find a box of 410 shells anywhere. I called from coast to coast, like different shops. It's like, can I just get one box of 410 shells so we can go shoot grouse with it?
Yeah.
And I don't.
All kinds of different responses, and most of it ended up in no.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
all no.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
Yeah.
well, we can put you on a wait list. It's like, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, you know, it's not gonna work, right?
Yeah.
We're leaving next week.
Yeah.
So
It's either that or a ridiculous price. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
we've had some quotes, like over $100 a box.
100.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
one that was $200 a box.
Yeah.
The guy says to me, he's like, well, he says normally, he says I won't sell you a box of ammo unless you buy a 410 or unless you buy a gun with it. He says, but if you just pay the $225, he says I'll give you a box of shells. I'm like, why would I pay $225 for a box of shells
Yeah.
when I can just buy the rifle or buy the shotgun and get the
Yeah.
box with
Yeah.
it? But that's what he was trying to do,
Yeah.
right? And it was just they were
Buy
so
a
hard
box
to
of
get.
shells, you get a gun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To shoot one box of shells, and then what do I do with the gun?
Yeah, right on. I spent $300
baseball
to
bat
shoot
at
3
best,
chickens,
yeah.
and I ate lunch once.
Yeah, right. Yeah, ate lunch once. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was at work. I was at work the next day, and I'm like, why the heck do we not have an ammo manufacturer? This is stupid. So I got out my phone and I got the notepad out and then started writing notes. Yeah.
We had quite a few people say, well, you can't do that. The government will never let you do that.
Yeah.
Well,
That's amazing what 1 or 2 permits will do, eh?
yeah, that's right. I
10
started
months to
talking.
get through
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't say that was an easy process. But
Yeah.
There was some nail biter moments, that's for sure. Wondering if we were going to get it.
Yeah, we ran into a few little hiccups,
Mhm.
hurdles, but we got over them.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting over them. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we gotta do this capital raise. You know, it was either that or go to the bank, and so we're really leaning on the community a little bit because we've decided to go that route and give people an opportunity to be a part of what we're doing. And like I said, it's instead of going to the bank, right? So
yeah,
we are kind of leaning on people for that.
Right on.
We have two options. You can pay the extra interest to a financial institute, or you can see if anybody else maybe wants to help out along the way.
Yeah.
Be a part of it.
Get a loan for whatever and pay back your 8%, or take that 8% and be like, give it back to the customers. And
I'd rather not go to the bank first if I can get away with it.
Yeah.
They don't need any more cash.
That's what winds up happening, right? Is you wind by being a pro rata shareholder. I mean, you wind up, you know, whatever money we make. I mean, we wind up getting a share of it back, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buy your own ammo.
Buy your own ammo.
Buy your own. Buy for
Yeah,
yourself.
I mean, you own a part of the company. Why would you buy somebody else's ammo?
Yeah. If I have one fail, though, that wasn't the one that I paid for.
That's right.
Right on, man.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you guys wanted to add to it or anything? Or?
No, we appreciate you coming by.
Oh,
That's been great.
I suppose we should introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, sure.
I'm Daryl. I'm the president of Canadian Rifleman.
I'm Dean. I'm the technical director.
And I'm Will, and I'm just moral and physical support. And I help out with knowing a lot of people.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, I need a little bit help, see. Yeah.
We appreciate you coming by.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was great. Nice conversation. Met each other at the Hudson Hope Rod and Gun Club there at the range day. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I shot my 10% or whatever it is of bullets already. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all good.
I'm sure everybody had a good 10% in there.
Well, we walked away with more ammo than we thought we were going to walk away with. That was for sure.
Yeah.
I think we showed up with 1,000 rounds. And I don't remember how many we went up.
No idea.
I was impressed with all the new shooters we had there. Yeah, there's so many new people to the sport that had never shot a gun before.
That was the exciting part, because there actually was quite a few people where you had, you know, we're used to going out with our buddies and all this type of stuff, and like you kind of, you're good. Oh yeah, no, I've shot before. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then when you got other people showing up, you have to ask them every single time, you ever held one of these before? And they're like, no. Okay, well, here's some basics that we're gonna have to go over. Right? You can see we got 5 minutes, and everybody's gung ho to just shoot, right?
Yeah. Well, I was saying though, on like the pistol side, like that's even worse because people are like, pistols equal bad, and you're like, here's a 9mm. This is how you load it. Point it down there and just shoot until it stops shooting, kind of a thing, and then get comfortable or whatever. And they were just like, bang, like pistol doesn't equal bad. Like that was kind of fun. It's like you got 9 more. Like really? And then boom, 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 and like, can I do it again? And you're like, hey, welcome to the Rifleman.
That's right.
Suck your man.
Welcome to the Rifleman.
So once again, we are the Canadian Rifleman.
Yeah, absolutely.
And expect to see us out there a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, look for us in your community. Check out our find us on Facebook. That's kind of where we're communicating with people the most right now. We do have a website, CanadianRifleman.ca. Don't judge us on it too much. It's a work in progress, but it's up and coming. And as we get into the equity crowdfund, we're gonna have to put some time and effort into that, so that we definitely look better.
Oh yeah, everything takes time too, and everything's just kind of starting out. So
it's getting all the clicks lined up there. You know.
Yeah.
Click here, I'll send you somewhere else. And like, man, we're not tech guys.
Take
some time.
You betcha.
Awesome. Well,
thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me out here and good
chat.
conversation.
You're welcome.
Right on.